we will seek to achieve a strategic understanding that is based on reality, where the two sides across the strait can interact in a stable and peaceful manner. Various parties have proposed political preconditions that are either fabricated or removed from the realities recognized by the world today. As such, they are fragile and not sufficient as a foundation for dealing with the intensity of cross-strait interaction today. We acknowledge that Beijing insists on the One China principle as its fundamental position towards Taiwan. However, Beijing must also understand the reality that the Taiwanese people, having gone through the historical processes of freeing themselves from foreign rules and seeking democratization, are opposed to one-party system and committed to upholding the independence of their sovereignty. The distinct positions, however, should not prevent the two sides from reaching a mutually beneficial arrangement where we can also pursue common interests, mainly common interests in peace and development. We believe that reaching a strategic understanding of our existing differences and agreeing to engage based on a desire to achieve common interests and mutual benefits is the most realistic way forward. This is what I mean by peaceful, but recognizing differences, peaceful and seeking commonalities. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the Chinese expression is 和而不同，和而求同. With an understanding of our differences and common objectives, we need to build a stable framework for interaction. This framework, gradually built through multiple levels, is to provide a mechanism for not only the day-to-day interactions and exchanges across the strait, but also for conflict management and dispute settlement. The doors of the DPP have been opened to those Chinese interested in dialogue and in genuinely understanding our views. Historically, there may have been wars and conflicts between the CCP, that is Chinese Communist Party, and the KMT parties. But the DPP carries no fundamental animosity towards the people of China. We are willing to play a proactive and constructive role in the development of a vibrant civil society and market economy in China, as long as it serves our common interests, which we understand to be peaceful development. In addition to welcoming Chinese visitors to our party and our think tank, a number of DPP elected officials and local government administrations have also organized trips to China. We believe such interaction contributes to further mutual understanding. To manage differences and to build on common interests in our interaction, we have proposed a number of policy guidelines, which we will adopt when we come into government again. We have already outlined our political approach above, and some security considerations were highlighted as I spoke about reinforcing our relationship with the United States. Given the limitation in time, I will not go over all the other policy guidelines in detail, but let me share with you some policy points in the economic and cultural realms which may be of interest. First, one of the most commonly asked questions I get is what the DPP would do about ECFA when we come into government. The DPP had many reservations about ECFA when it was initially proposed. Procedurally, the lack of transparency in the negotiation process was unacceptable. And in terms of substance, we were concerned that the rapid opening process with China by international free trade agreement standards would have a dramatic impact on Taiwan's economy which our government and people were not prepared to handle. We voiced our objections, and we ensured that no political preconditions were written into the language of the agreement. Now the FTA is already signed into reality. When in government, we will conduct regular examinations of its impact on our economy, and if and when revisions are necessary, we will follow democratic procedures for handling trade agreements and international obligations. Second, the handling of economic relations with China is not a simple matter of yes or no. The intensity of economic ties is a reality, and China has already become Taiwan's largest investment destination and trading partner. Economic relations have evolved to an extent where continuing interaction cannot be stopped by either side, regardless of who is in government. Turning a blind eye to this reality is just as impractical as the threat to discontinue ties with changing political circumstances. The market and the private sector have already taken the lead in the intense economic relationship. But we know that the future of China, while containing tremendous opportunities, also has its risks and uncertainties, particularly as long as the political system remains opaque and its economy continues in the direction of state-driven capitalism. So from our perspective, the role of the government in cross-strait economic relations must contain at least the following dimensions: managing and reducing risks, ensuring a fair environment for businesses to operate, proactive global diversification efforts, and balancing interests between the sectors that profit from cross-strait trade and sectors that suffer. This is where we differ in philosophy from the KMT, which has formulated policy based on one-dimensional assumption that opening to China is the solution to all economic problems. My third point is in regards to the traveling and interaction between the people on both sides. When we were in government last time, we initiated negotiation on direct flight across the strait, and we do not fundamentally object to transportation arrangements that reduce the cost of traveling, as long as security risks are controlled and the resulting profit is adequately shared. With the direct flights, there is the issue of Chinese tourists. In principle, we welcome Chinese tourists. However, the influx of Chinese tourists must be accompanied by a preparation with adequate infrastructure so that overcrowding in some sites does not reduce the quality of tourism or turn away tourists from other countries. In short, the DPP has invested a lot of time and energy into formulating a pragmatic and workable approach, as well as specific policies towards China. They are consistent with the interests of the Taiwanese people. We have conducted serious discussions with experts, academics, private sector leaders, NGOs, and our party grassroots to build a strong consensus that is sustainable as we deal with the complexities of the cross-strait relationship. Now, I want to reiterate here that our broader goal is to ensure a peaceful and stable environment where the people on both sides of the strait and in the border region can pursue development and prosperity. We will work on our goals in a way that is responsible, in line with international expectations of a maturing democracy. When we win the presidential election next year, it will be Taiwan's third transition. While it is normal for a political party to hope and wish to remain in government for as long as possible, in a democracy, transitions are always to be expected. In a democratic society, when a party loses the election, it reflects and rebuilds. If it is successful, it will govern again. And if not, there will always be new parties and forces in the society that will propel progress and change. Since March of 2008, the DPP has gone through a very painful process of reflection, all the while facing internal and external challenges. And in my leadership of the party during this time, I have insisted on the need for refining our policy discourse and broadening the content of political debate in Taiwan. That traditionally has been more confined to ideological differences. The public has responded to our transformation with enthusiasm, and I must say that the passion and enthusiasm of the grassroots is the greatest asset of the DPP. Our supporters will constantly compel us to reflect and respond. In return, they provide the fuel for our progress. We hope that the international community, including China, will develop an understanding, if not appreciation, of how our democracy functions. The DPP's return to government is inevitable and will happen, hopefully, sooner than later. The DPP has evolved and matured along with the development of Taiwan's democracy. And today, we are far more experienced and prepared than ever before for the opportunity to govern again. I'm sure our American friends here would find us to be reliable partners, and the Taiwanese people will work with us to build an accountable and responsible government. Thank you.